when you physically separate yourself from the body of Christ because you think you can get things online and even sermons through social media, like you rob yourself from being able to be held to that higher standard, and to live a life that's more free, but then also to like find out exactly who God designed for us to be, with intentionality, because that's
Yeah.
Hi, this is Christina Eve, and welcome to ShineStrong, LiveLong. This is a session on my channel that I love to do. It is called ShineSessions, where I spotlight and have conversations with people who have said yes to God and people who are allowing God's light to shine strong through them. And as a result, the impact that they will leave will live long in the lives of others. And today I have a special guest. I always have special guests on the show. I've had some authors, some people who just told their testimony. This author in particular wrote a memoir, and it was kind of like her testimony. And so I'm just going to let her introduce herself, her talk more about her book and some of the things that she has going on. Her name is Nicole Smith. Welcome to Shine Sessions. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hey, thank you for having me, first of all. I definitely appreciate the opportunity to be on the show and to talk about my book. So I'm really excited to be here. A little bit about myself. So I'm originally from Providence, Rhode Island, and I moved to Virginia about 10 years, 2014, about 10 years ago. I'm a mom and I have two small children, and my husband, we've been married for it'll be 9 years. It'll be 9 years this year, together for 10 years. So yeah, I'm just a mom or a business owner. I have several small businesses that I operate from home. I assist in homeschooling my son, along with having my daughter on my hip. So yeah, I'm
A
just a
busy
regular
lady.
mom, and yeah, definitely busy, but I keep going. Got to keep going. So
Well, that's good. I can tell by what I read in your book that your faith is something that helps you keep going, because
mhm.
with a lot of that consistency piece, I've seen a lot of some of the projects and stuff that you work on
Mhm.
with Coda design. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yes,
Yes.
yeah.
I was like, man, she's so talented. But I could like in your book, you
hmm
you said you were in pharmaceuticals at one point.
hmm
How, well, this is
Yeah,
like off script because I
yeah.
sent you some questions, but how did you
Yeah.
transition from pharmaceuticals to being
Uh,
able to be really good in graphic design?
then literally it was the year that COVID hit. When COVID hit, that I think it was winter transitioning into spring. It was March.
Mhm.
When COVID hit and we were stuck in the house, I said, I want to start doing graphics. I want to start making logos and flyers and websites. So when we were stuck in the house, I was using YouTube University, and I was learning how to operate my own business, learning how to use Photoshop, learning how to use all of these different softwares, and literally just training, teaching myself. So I always say COVID was a blessing in disguise for me, because that was really like that was the birth of me rebranding Coda Designs and transforming it from t-shirts to a business where I help small businesses brand and market themselves through graphics. So
Well,
yeah,
that's dope.
that was a lot.
Um, I've heard that's like a common theme. Like a lot of people who have come onto the show, like when I ask them, there's this time where they pivot to something
hmm
different, and it's always pandemic hit, and I was stuck in
Yep.
the house, and then the
hmm
story follows after that.
Yep.
Graphically, that's where Sean Strong Live Long came from. I was stuck in
Oh
the house.
wow. Yep.
Yep. And I was like,
Yep.
look, I need to do something.
Yep.
YouTube. And so,
Yeah.
oh, that's so great. Girl, okay. So this memoir that you wrote that I read that I
Mhm.
enjoyed, your memoir, what made you want to write this book and
Mhm.
why? Why did you write it?
Okay. It started off as a blog. When I first got saved, I think maybe a year or two after, just being on fire for God, on fire for reaching people. I decided to blog. I started writing down my journey. It had the same exact title, the same images, her brand new life. And I was traveling on this road. So I was blogging what I was learning along my faith walk, me growing from that first year. And I just started writing down everything that I was learning. I think I did it maybe monthly. And I did it for 2 years and I stopped. And then I kept trying to come back to it, but I couldn't come back to it because it was like a pivotal moment in my life. Those first 2 years of just growing, walking with God, learning who I was, the person that God designed me to be. So trying to come back to it some years later and realizing I wasn't in that spot anymore was hard. So I was like, okay, I have to stop here, but I have to do something with what I have, what I wrote these 2 years, those first couple of years. So just growing in the word, growing in, hearing from God and figuring out, what is he calling me to? What's my purpose? What's my assignment? He brought me back to the blog because I tried to do a YouTube channel. I tried to take it and turn it into, but I was like, I don't like being in front of the camera. I can't get into this talking. I don't like hearing myself talk. You hear an accent, I hear a lisp. So I'm like, I gotta figure out another way to try to get this into something. I was like, because I know God wants people to read this, to hear this. So he gave it to me in the form of a book. I had no idea what a memoir was. I just knew I already had something there and then I had to transform it into something. That's when I realized, okay, I'm not writing a biography. I'm not telling all my business. I didn't want to tell my life story. I didn't want to go into details and start exposing and talking about personal things. That wasn't what it was about. I wanted to focus on my journey, those first couple of years of me going from being in the world to giving my life to Christ. So that's when God showed me, okay, it's a memoir just being about specific moments in your life, not telling everything, just focusing on specific moments. And then as I got to finalizing the end of the book, it turned from a memoir almost to like a self-help, to where I got to the point where I was talking about what I was learning, and then I was starting to apply it and see the fruit of it. So then God showed me, okay, take what you've learned and now break this down so now people can understand. If you apply what you've learned to your life, you'll get the fruit, you'll start to see the fruit of everything. And that's the second half of the book. That's how it was written. So
No, that's helpful. That's super helpful because I was
mhm,
like, when I was reading it, I was like, I was in between, like, I want more. I want all the
mhm,
tea. What are their
mhm,
names?
mhm. Yeah,
Me being
yeah.
nosy, right?
Yeah.
Like every human being. And
Mhm.
then me at the end seeing, oh man, this is really helpful. Because a
Yeah.
part of the book at the end, I do agree, self-help.
Mhm.
And I think that if you are are I think book clubs, like church book
Mhm.
clubs, like young teenagers who,
Mhm.
or maybe not young teenagers, maybe more young
Young
adults.
adults.
Young
Mhm.
adults, yes.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
maybe I feel like they could benefit from being able to read this book together, like from
Mhm.
the beginning, hearing your story and your journey, and then seeing how what you learned, you applied it to your life, and how you said, like, now we see fruit from that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a great,
Yeah,
like,
I would say too, like if I had to pick a category
mhm,
of like an age group, because I didn't put a specific age group on it when I went and published it, I would probably say young adults,
mhm.
because that's where I was. Technically, I've past the young adult age where I'm at now. But when I first like began this journey, I was in that age group of young adults. So I would say kind of like when I wrote it, and that's the area too that God has been calling me to these last couple of years, to like teenagers and young adults, teenagers transitioning into that. Okay, I'm responsible for my own life now. That's the area that God has been calling me to. So when I wrote the book, that's kind of who I had in mind, although anybody could gain, from it at any age. But I would say young adults is like definitely the age where my book might really
Resonate.
resonate to them. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I know that it's such a vulnerable stage, right? That's when
Hmm.
a lot of people claim to start feeling like that anxiety, to start feeling
Hmm.
overwhelmed, like what do I actually do with my life, you know?
Hmm.
They feel so much pressure where I could see them venturing into some of the things that you experienced during that
Hmm.
age too, and
Hmm.
just seeking a way out. And it's really important. I know you mentioned you physically went into a church building, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
times are different now. A lot of people, they look online, and I know during your book or in your book, you actually outlined what that would look like. Like
Hmm.
maybe looking online first, but stepping into the church and why that's so important. Can you
Hmm.
talk a little bit more about why you think your experience and how you experienced Christ was so different because you physically went into the church versus just someone who thinks they can get everything online?
Hmm. Yeah, that was definitely an important chapter to me, because the church was where I grew at. Um, Knowing myself, my personality, um, I couldn't sit home and absorb what I needed to absorb, just being home. The church was the foundation, because I had the community of people who were genuine in their walk. So they were the examples, that I was looking to follow, and the love of my life, my salvation was there. The accountability, that's probably the biggest thing. And I think that's why a lot of people do shy away from church, the accountability. Um, I am I say it in my book. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it with being sincere, and I'm not going to fake it and be phony about it. So if I'm saying, okay, I believe in Jesus Christ, he died for me, he's my Lord and Savior, this is the life that I ought to live and live by and walk out, then I know that there has to be some change. And in order for there to be change, my my some of my characteristics or things that, the way I lived, they have to be exposed, and it has to be addressed, and it has to change. I think one of the things, as humans, we don't like being told what to do. We don't like being held accountable for things that we do. It takes a very strong person to say, hey, I'm wrong, I'm doing this wrong, or I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, help me, or be that example, show me, guide me, lead me in the right direction, lead me where Christ, show me where Christ want X, Y, and Z. And that's what the church did for me. I was able to be in a community of people that genuinely loved me and that genuinely cared about my salvation. They cared about how I live. They cared about, where I go when I leave this earth. They were sincere in that, and they helped shape me and pour into me, so that even here I can walk it out and live the life that God wants, me to live, and wants all of us to live. So, yeah, go in the church. And when I tell you, I'm not a very like outgoing person. I wasn't used to meeting new people, coming from, living up north, being in the environment of like that city environment of you keep your head down and you mind your business. You don't be in other people's faces, and you like what you looking at. Coming from that environment into a church where people are embracing you and when I mean genuinely loving on you, and want to see you, live a better life, that was like, I would say, like a culture shock for me.
Mhm.
But I knew it was real, and I knew that God was pulling me in that direction. Had I not gone to church and tried to do it at home, I wouldn't have made it. I would have stumbled in my walk so many times. I probably wouldn't be this far in my walk had it not been for my church, had it not been for my apostles, had it not been for the community of people who became my family. And it would have been hard. It would have been a hard road
Yeah.
for me. So yeah, that chapter is definitely important.
It
That going to church. Yeah.
that one that's important. I mean, even the fact that you, when I say self-help guys, she
Hmm.
really outlined that pretty well, because she went from physically being in a church, finding a church, to also talking about what it meant to dress like a Christian, and some of the challenges with, like, because I think that's my biggest challenge right now. And that's crazy because I grew up in a church, but
Hmm.
like, anyways, as a
Hmm.
woman,
Yeah.
Black women in particular,
Hmm.
we need that extra guidance so that we
Hmm.
dress holy,
Yeah.
and not like our clothes can't be too tight. They can't be too
Yeah.
short. They can't be,
Yeah. Hmm.
So that is something that I can resonate with, because physically
Hmm.
being in a church definitely holds me to a higher standard with
Hmm.
how I am seen visibly, as
Hmm.
well. There is a part of your book that I really love. Y'all know I love some Christian hip hop now. So she mentioned how, well, not she, Nicole, you mentioned in your book about how your playlist changed, how your music
Hmm.
changed. And that was something that you and your husband actually bonded over when you first started
Hmm.
courting.
Hmm. Yeah.
So tell me about that. Why is it so important for the things that you let enter your ear, like, change when you're trying to live a more Christian life?
Hmm. Yeah. So the music thing was hard because I grew up listening. I think every Black household we grew up with music. Music
Yeah.
is it's that thing that it captivates our soul. It controls our feelings in that moment. And I grew up listening to music, all types of music. My dad played like 60s soul classic music, and my mom played 90s R&B. So I grew up listening to Mary J. And then I grew up listening to James Brown and Prince. And then as I got older, hip hop music and Jay-Z and all of the Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, Drake, all of these different artists. And I'm like, I loved music. I think at one point in my life in middle school, I actually even tried to be a rapper, but like,
I can tell with the accent,
I love
though.
it. I just love music. Um, so then once I started going to church, once I accepted Christ, I realized that it wasn't until then I realized how toxic the music that I was listening to really was, because like I said in my book, there were moments where I play a Janae Aiko album literally, like, because I just had a fight with a dude, and what she said is exactly what I went through, and I'm heated. Like, I'm driving down the highway upset, blasting her song Mad at the World, and looking back at it, I'm like, that music kept me in such a bad place that I never want to go back to. Even now, if I hear a certain song, if I'm somewhere else in a mall or with somebody that doesn't listen to Christian music, and something comes across that I heard back then, that memory still comes back. That feeling of anger or sadness still comes back to this day. And I'm like, that's how powerful that's how powerful music is. And I don't ever want to be in that place where something is controlling me or taking or pulling me away from where I know my heart and my mind should be. And that's always staying on Christ. So when it came to listening to music, I was like, oh, this is going to be a challenge, because you can't tell me that I can't listen to Drake no more. Like what do you mean? And I didn't grow up in the church, so I knew Christian music existed, like Kirk Franklin was always on a secular radio. Mary Mary was always on a secular radio station on a Sunday. So I knew Christian music existed. But when I got saved, I didn't give it any thought um, until my husband, because he grew up in the church, loved music. He's a Christian rapper. So he had a catalog full of music. And what happened was he would start to make me, and I think now I'm showing the age of our relationship, CDs. I'm like, we was listening to CDs 10 years ago. Yes, we were. We were still on CDs.
I was
There were
listening to
still CD
CDs.
players in cars. So he was making me CDs. And as I'm listening more and more to Christian music, I'm like, I'm not missing a beat. And it wasn't, what I loved was that we weren't just listening to radio Christian music. Because even when I did start listening to Christian music on the radio, I was realizing that it was becoming very repetitive. I was hearing the same artists, and I was like, there gotta be. I listened to too many genres of music. I love soca, I love reggae. Like that's probably, I would say that's probably number one tied with hip hop. I was like, so I know there has to be another genre of music other than what the Christian radio stations were playing. I was like, so I gotta find it. So my husband was big on, finding different music from different genres from independent artists that we would never hear on the radio. So we got into just finding independent artists to the point where a lot of the top Christian artists, I didn't even know who they were. I didn't listen to them because I listened to so many independent Christian artists. But my husband, he helped a lot. It got to a point where this part's not in my book, but when it came to music, my husband started throwing out my old CDs, and I didn't know. But it had
Wow.
got to a point where I wasn't listening to that anymore. I didn't realize that they were gone until he told me after. And then when I went back, like my Danity Kane album, my Day 26 album, I said, you threw my album. I never knew because I stopped listening to him. He was like, yeah, I got rid of him, but I didn't want to tell you. And he was like, because I knew you would have been mad. When he told me at the moment, I was mad because he did it. But at that point, I wasn't even looking for him. So I never knew that they were missing. That's how much I was listening to Christian music. But then just getting deeper into the word, realizing that, the things that we listen to, what we hear, what goes into our ears does take root in our hearts. Not even music, even the TV shows that we listen to, that we watch, the movies that
Mhm.
we watch. Those things, when you listen to them and they start to settle in, they do have an effect on our behavior. They have a they form a certain perspective of the world, how we look at people, how you look at women, how you look at men, how you look at relationships. And I'm like, there's
Absolutely.
no way I can be walking up with Christ,
Yeah.
but I'm allowing a song to tell me that I should be drugging and being scandalous and all of this in a club, but I'm reading my Bible and it's telling me, no, you're this, you carry yourself in this manner. Like it just
Yeah.
doesn't add up. It doesn't register.
You made some really important, valid points, things that need to be said. And I think also just going back to that whole standard thing, like,
Mhm,
and how when you physically separate yourself from the body of Christ because you think you can
mhm,
get things online and even sermons through social media, like you rob yourself from being able to be held to that higher standard,
mhm,
and to live a life that's more free, but
mhm,
then also to like find out exactly who God designed for us to be,
mhm,
with intentionality because
mhm.
that's
Yeah.
but I do want to ask you two more things.
Mhm.
First, quickly, I need your top 5 artists that you can share with me.
Ooh, look, I have my phone here because I listen to so many people. I don't even, it changes.
Oh yeah,
It
no, because
changes.
new indie
Um,
artists come out all the
Indie
time.
artists, I love. I'm sorry. I'm supporting the indie artists all day. Like I
Yeah,
love the ones who already have their platform, but
yeah.
indie artists, I love Limo Blaze.
Limo,
I
okay, yeah, he has
I
a
love
new
Limo
song with
Blades.
Sam Rivera, like the Lord and Savior song.
He
I
has
love
a
that.
song with everybody. I've come to realize Limo Blaze is with everybody. He has songs with KB. Um, who else? I've started listening to Caleb Gordon. Um, Stevie Rizzo. Love Stevie
Yes,
Rizzo.
Steve. Mhm.
There's a girl. What is her name?
Is it
Francesca. French
Francesca? Yes,
Francesca. I love her. Um, who else? Hovey. I love Hovey.
Ovi. Hmm.
Madison Ryan. I love
Love
her.
her. Gosh,
Um, Jay Monty. I love Jay Monty.
Monty.
Red Tips. I love Red Tips.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, there's so many people. I'm looking at my playlist. I love Jordan Armstrong. I listen to Jacqueline Carr.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
I love this. I'm gonna stop you there. That was
I
good.
love, there's so many people. I can go forever. I
That
can
was
go forever. Yeah.
that was so good because I was like, okay, I have to make sure, because I have my radio show that I'm playing
Mhm.
the stuff that people are listening
Yeah.
to. Every single one of them on the show. Love
Yes.
all of
I
them.
love
Yes,
them.
girl.
Yes.
Good taste. Good taste. Yes. And if you do not know those people and you're watching and listening to this, then let us put you on like
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
So my
And
last
my
question.
husband. Oh my gosh. My
Oh yeah,
husband.
LT, you guys. I
LP.
play him on
How
the
can
show.
how can I miss
Mirror
that?
Mirror is my
Yes.
favorite song by him so far. Have you been on one of LT's songs yet? Because I know you say you used to want to rap.
No. Mm-mm. I'm not getting on his songs. He talks about me, but that's as far as it goes. You'll hear my name, but no, I'm not getting on any songs. I stay in my lane.
What advice would you give to someone who was in a similar position as you were? And that was like you mentioned you were lost and overwhelmed and just looking for something different.
Um, I would honestly have to tell them to seek God, because if you don't, it's going to be a hard road. Um, we can't do it on our own. Man has tried, we have tried, we failed. If we could do it on our own, God wouldn't have sent Jesus to die on the cross for us. So seek God, find counsel in people that you trust. I know that's like generic to say now, but it's true. Trust your inner man, trust that inner voice that's speaking to you, that's pulling you towards um something higher than you, because that is the voice of God. You just probably don't recognize it now, because of where you're at, being in that lost state. It's hard to hear from God. I was able to um, recognize it, but some people can't. But when you do have that sense of, I need something else, there's something else out there, there's something bigger than me. Um, that's the voice of God. Follow it and don't be afraid of where it leads you, even if you don't recognize where you're going. Because I didn't recognize it, but I also didn't fight it. And not fighting it is what got me to this point. It got me to the point of, I would say, almost like recovery, and being able to be pulled out of that dark place of not knowing, because that's the enemy. Whenever you're in a dark place and it's of confusion and you're stuck and you're scared, that's the enemy trying to keep you there. So, yeah, my advice would be to follow that light, even if it's small, that light of hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel, what people say, that small light that's trying to burst through. Follow that light. That's God trying to pull you out of darkness. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Awesome. That's good advice. That's good advice. My
Mhm.
advice would be also get her book, memoirs. What's hold me, the full name of your book? I don't have it in front of me.
I actually have it right here. It's Her Brand New Life. I knew I wanted more out of the life I was living.
Beautiful. Her
That's the
brand
full
new life.
title. Yeah.
So, with your book, can you let us know with our like last couple minutes how can we get in touch with, well, how can we find you on social media, get in touch with you, follow what you have going on, and also purchase your book?
So on social media, you can just my name, Nicole H. Smith, Nicole Hackney Smith. On Facebook, you can just search Nicole Hackney Smith. The website, my book is on Amazon. So if you just go and type in Her Brand New Life on Amazon, it'll come up. If you need a direct link, you can find it from my website, which is www.nicolehsmith.com. And then my Instagram is it's period Nicole H. Smith. So ITS dot Nicole H. Smith. So yeah, I try to keep everything my name so that I was like, I actually had to change my Instagram name. I was like, oh, I can't be having it as Slim no more. We got to have something more professional. I'm about to release a book. I can't be telling people to follow Slim. So, yeah, so everything is my name. If you search my name on social media, Nicole Smith, Nicole Hackney Smith, you should be able to find me.
Awesome. Well branded once again. So I'm going to have all of that information in the description below this video. Thank you so much, Nicole, for coming and being
For
a
having
guest
me.
on Shine Sessions.
I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate you having me here.